Alright guys, you got your boy Stingren here today, and today we're going to be talking about the 300k paid gym fiasco that's currently going on in the game, how it has a lot of people divisive on the whole strat, my personal thoughts and opinions about the whole thing, because I am someone who does support the game quite heavily. I do spend quite a bit on the game, not as much as some people, not as much as I used to anymore because I don't make content anymore. And yeah, I just really want to talk about the whole process, and I want to kind of give my thoughts and opinions about the whole thing. That's really just it. I just want to have a little bit of fun with this. And yeah, so first things first, we're going to talk about how the gem distribution works in the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. So we're going to get the music going, and let's go ahead and get started. So there's two types of gems you can get in the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. There is a acquired and there is a paid. Acquired is basically what you get by doing content, by doing any sort of content that will normally allow you to get gems. So any sort of event, dailies, summons, whatever it is that you can do that will get you those gems, right? So you would use these to be able to get you whatever you need to get from the banner, right? So you would go do the event, get as many gems you can get, go pull, boom. And then there's the paid option, which is of course by acquiring paid bundles within the paid shop, which is from doing like packs, BT bundles, alternate costumes, BT ingot, whatever pack you see in the shop basically gives you a paid amount, right? So let's talk about the issue here. So 300k paid gems only really affects the people that have already hit the threshold. So if you're already at 300k paid, that means you cannot buy nothing else in the shop, which is where a lot of people are personally a little bit confused about, because they're like, well, why do I have to be able to go through free resources as opposed to just simply buying it and having it like maybe sent to a gift box or something? I think the better alternative would have been to just simply not allow them to collect the gems if you're really so adamant about having a 300k cap, because that means they can still get the resources and the other things they can get. Because let's just say if you are at 300k, right, and you want to buy a BT ingot pack, well, you can't buy it because you're at 300k, which means you have to go forcibly go summon. What if you have every single thing on the banner? You're basically wasting resources at that point. You're wasting because, well, guess what? Now I can't buy it because I have to wait. I have to do this. I have to kind of tick my fingers for the next banner and pull. And what if it's a character you don't necessarily need, which also creates a bit of a vacuum, which is, a bit of an issue with some people depending on how they decide to use their resources. If you're a collector, you're probably going to summon anyway just for the sake of complete collection. But for FRs, which is the most recent thing in Japan, a lot of them aren't necessary, which is pretty expected. The same thing with certain BTs. A lot of them are not expected to be, you have to go get them unless they offer the character really good effects or offer your team really good effects, or you find it something that you need for your own account personally. That's really the only thing you really can validate by saying, hey, this is the reason I'm going to use this for my account. Hey, this is the reason I'm going to summon for this. That's it. You know what I mean? So there's that. Another reason why this is a bit of an issue is how DFFOO's gacha works as a whole. DFFOO's gacha is what I call something that is kind of like a suffering from success type of thing. And what I mean by suffering from success is, if you guys don't know, DFFOO's gacha is probably one of the better gachas that's out there in the market right now. Because one, you're always guaranteed to get the on banner weapon whenever you proc a 5-star. You are always guaranteed. You're not going to get a random C-Snake LD by pulling on a banner that does not feature her LD. You're not going to get shafted by a random 15 CP when you're looking to pull an EX weapon. Now, if you guys remember the olden days of DFFOO, if you're a bit of a newer player, this is a bit of a backstory for you. The game didn't start that way. In global, it started with guaranteed 5 stars, but in Japan, it did not. In Japan, this was the first to implement this, by the way. They then implemented that you just could simply not get the 15 CP. But how original banners worked back then, you could off banner a 15 CP. You couldn't off banner a 35 or another person's EX. but the only thing you could off banner was a 15 CP. Which, when looking at the scale of the banner, which could still screw you up, because again, that 15 CP could happen to appear in any one of those terms of pulls. If you look at any old summon video from maybe like 2000, maybe 19, I want to say, like maybe 2018, 2019, you would see that happening. You would see someone saying, oh, I got an off banner. But now in summons, that's no longer an issue. You simply will get whatever banner is on that weapon, and whatever weapon that's on that banner, guaranteed the minute you pop that 5-star orb. So that's where the suffering from success issue comes from, because with the system like this, you have a much higher chance of getting the thing that you want, because you're only battling within a certain amount of a set amount of weapons, as opposed to like Dokkan, where you're going against 150 other potential options to be the option that you want. If you're gonna go pull for the new Goku, I don't even know if there's a new Goku on Dokkan, I'm just making an example here, you're gonna have to go through basically 100 and something more other units of the same rarity as him before you get that unit. In default, you're only battling maybe no less than 12 other options. Think about that. With a 10% rate to get a 5-star at that. That's pretty high. And it's a pretty likely chance that you will get the thing that you need. Very likely that you would. Now, of course, you can always hit pity because you don't hit that chance. That is, of course, how gacha works. Sometimes you just don't pull it. Sometimes you get the bad end of the stick. But that's just how gacha goes. But in terms of my experience of hearing from pities from other players, I don't hear pities left and right. I hear him, fairly often, because there's a lot of people that I talk to still about this game. But it's not like you're always gonna pity. I don't hear always pity. It's not like you always have to pity. Another thing that happens to work against DFFOO in terms of its summoning conditions is, well, banners in general. So what I mean by this is, weapons in this game you don't have to pull dupes for. I'm going to use the Dokkan example again because it's a primary example of why you need to hop back in for multiple copies. Getting multiple copies of a unit in Dokkan makes them substantially stronger by unlocking passives to make them look better, to have them handle the better, harder content in the game. This does not happen in DFFOO because guess what? Pulling a dupe only means you have to use less of a resource that we could already get in the game. If you're somebody who already spends quite a bit in the game, so let's just say you're a pretty established collector and you have a lot of collected units, right? If I were to go to my account, really the only thing that I'm missing in my Dissidia Final Fantasy account is Thancred's LD and Tono's EX, right? So I'm only missing 2 weapons, which are one's featured, one's not. Whenever I pull for something now, it's guaranteedly gonna be a dupe. It's gonna be a dupe. So unless it's until I get the new weapon, like for example, I don't have Balthier's FR, right? If I go and pull because I say, oh, I might need Balthier's FR for content. He has a pretty cool, condition effect, etc. Woo woo, right? If I'm pulling for Balthier's FR, before I get the FR, you're gonna get one of these before, unless you just happen to get super lucky, which of course can happen. That's just how gacha is. A lot of these other 15 CPs that I'm gonna get, that's gonna give me the other resource that I need to limit break something else. Let's just say I needed a Zelda, which I actually didn't need. I didn't have a Zelda to prior to like just a few hours ago. I did buy a couple packs and I did get a Zelda, but I got the LD, right? By me pulling all these other dupes of all these other weapons in between, guess what? I don't have no other reason to pull for another copy for an LD anyway. I already have enough of the power stones that I need to max it out instantly. There's no point for me to go back in to the banner. There's no point. If I don't need his FR, then what do I need to summon for? And that's where the suffering from success also turns against DFFOO, because DFFOO is a game where you don't necessarily have to pull a lot of something. Once you get established and once you start to get a lot of power stones going into your account, maybe like 150-ish, I want to say, guess what? Power stones don't become an issue anymore. They don't. I know you're saying, but what about the FRs? DFFOO's actually got a lot better with the terms of FRs, where you can simply just collect them from chocobo boards, and they give you like 2 per chocobo board now. They give you 1 per event. They're getting a little bit better with the acceleration, how they're giving out. Sometimes they give out some in giveaways and stuff like that. So they're getting a little bit better at it. If you are me, I do sell mine because I just want the extra resources, and the extra stats you get from FR to EX aren't that big. And especially if I'm giving them a ultimate weapon anyway, then I definitely don't need them. So yeah, but anyway, that's a whole different debate right there, and that's something I'm not really trying to jump into. But basically speaking, you don't need to pull a lot in this game. You don't. The only thing you really oftenly chase sometimes is the BT and the FR of the character. Those are the rare things to get. FR has the same pull rate as an LD, so maybe I might want to take that out, because 5% chance to get the weapon is it's a give or take. It's a give or take depending on your gacha look. I can't just say, man, I've been getting FRs left to right, man. I just free pulled one yesterday. Ho ho. That's not how that's gonna work for every single player. So I can't really say that. But BTs, you're probably not gonna get on your free multi. It's not something that's tend to happen every single time for some people. Yes, it can happen, but it's not going to happen every single time you pull. So there's that. And even then, when you pull a BT, guess what? Pulling a dupe BT does absolutely nothing for you outside of giving you 5 tokens. That's it. That's all it does. 5 tokens. Boom. That's it. It does physically nothing else for you. So at the end of the day, when you come to using your resources, your tickets, and your gems, most people traditionally go tickets first, unless it's the character they really want to just hope they try to spark it before pity. Tickets are really good in this game. They're really, really good with the rate of the game. Since they give you so many tickets in most events give you anywhere up from like 70 to up to 400. Up to 400 tickets, of course, counting the divine summons and the and if you're not someone who has like all the character board treasures, that's tickets right there. If you're a newer player especially, the spirited summons also give you 400 as well. So if you're having that type of content already just out of the gate, guess what? That's a big resource gain for you. That's a big resource gain for you. And then those 400 tickets for you to try to get a chance of that respected weapon, you're probably gonna get it within the 400. Because the rates are just too good for the game. It's 10% chance, and you have basically only 1 chance of 12. Like, for example, we count all the weapons in the banner. We have 1, 2, 5, 8. So 14. So 1 of 14, my bad. 1 of 14. You have 1 of 14 to get the one thing you want outside when you proc the 5-star. That's insanely high. Instead of 1 of like 100, you're doing 1 of 14. You gotta think about it like that. So that's why hitting the 300k paid gem, hitting the 300k paid gem might be more closer than what you think it is. Because it really just depends on you as the player. If you are someone who spends a lot in this game, then and you tend to be lucky, then you may end up hitting it. And it really does turn off a lot of the things you may want to do, because I don't think that it's really fair for the people having to force to pull something. Like I don't think that that's fair, because the thing about it is, in default, as I mentioned before, not a lot of things are a necessity to get in this game. They're not. They're just straight up not. A lot of FRs you can kind of just coast by not getting. A lot of BTs you can coast by not getting. Some of course offer amazing effects. Some of course have great percent values from the FR times, respectfully. But if you're not feeling like you're struggling in content without said FR, then what's your reason for pulling? If you just want to get them because they're your favorite, you want to get them because you want the collection value of it, or etc., then yeah, by all means. But if you don't fall into any of those categories where you don't feel like you're struggling in content, you don't feel like you're having an issue, none of those characters are really particularly your favorite. Like, for example, a lot of people are a bit divided on Luna Freya because they feel like she should have never got something so good because she's a character that virtually didn't exist in Final Fantasy 15. Cough, cough, half, half. Anyway, shade aside. If you don't want to pull for Luna Freya, that is completely fine for you. That's completely fine. Do you lose out on anything on Luna Freya? You lose out on a good water support, I guess. But does it But does having a water support that can give free turns, HP cap, I think it's like what? HP splash effect, which is like the Leo effect, does it really hurt you? You have to think about that. But if it doesn't hurt you, then you're fine. You're simply just fine. And if you buy gems in between those purchases, then you just have those paid gems just to sit on for a banner you may particularly want. And you can continuously do that. But if you're at 300k, then you can't buy anymore. Which is a bit different because guess what? There's always things in the shop to buy. Alts you may want to buy, BT ingot packs you want to buy, premium log pass you might want to buy. If you can't buy those, you're put into a situation where you're forced to pull. And this is where I have my issue with the 300k paid lock. You're going to have to go for characters you don't necessarily want, or just dump your resources. And then this also goes against hoarding because guess what? Free resources are going to go first, baby. So that means, let's just say you have 500k gems, right? You have 300k paid, 200k held, right? You're going to have to go through 200k of those held gems, which is not smart in the simplest of ways, unless you're trying to pity, which is 125k, before you get to the paid. So guess what? You're screwed. You're essentially screwed. Because if you have all these held gems, and you have all these free, these paid gems, you can't get anything. Because there's no point in you trying to go into a banner to justify saying, I had to go pull 200k of my paids so I can get some of my, 200k of my frees so I can get some of my paids down. There's no justification of why that works. Because at the end of the day, you're basically only pulling for 200k of dupes. Or just a potentially new character if you're doing about it the somewhat optimal way, which is pulling for a banner of things you don't have. But what if it's a situation where you're hoarding and you have everything that's on the banner? You just gotta wait, which is not very good because that means depending on what comes out in the content, you may simply just miss it. So that means you won't be able to buy that off that you wanted. You may just have to go a few events without a premium log pass. You have to wait to get the BT bundle pack, which may not be reran for quite a bit of time because it's not even every month. It's bad in that regard. In that regard, it's bad. And keep in mind, if you're not an active spender in the game, it's very, very quick to get a lot of held gems in DFFOO in terms of acquired. Because again, most resources give you close to 2, a little bit more. Some story events give you quite a bit, depending on extra bonuses. Like if it's an ultimate summon month, that's 40k just sitting right there. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't help the player base that tends to hoard and be more strategic with their summons. It doesn't help them. It does not. If you're someone who wants to collect, then by nature you are gonna pull because it's something new. Like me, I'm a collector. I like to get new weapons. But if I were to say, man, I want to hoard, what's gonna happen after a month or two? Will I be at 300k paid and 200k acquired, and then I'm just stuck because I can't buy a new alt for Vaughn? He does get a new alt, by the way. But is that what's gonna end up happening? Is that what's gonna end up happening? And that's where the issue gets to be a little bit bad. That's where the issue gets a little bit bad. I think that you know what I think that they should have done. Honestly, this is kind of more so teetering toward the end of the video. But what I think that the devs could have done is still allow you to buy the resources, but maybe put the paid gems in like an inbox or something. Similar to like other premium resources that we can't lose, like BT tokens. Basically, if you have the 50 tokens you have, right? If you do another event that gives you a token, it goes to your inbox instead of just being lost forever. Which eliminates the need where you have to token for something. Now you can be a little bit more, better with what you want to token. You can say, man, I'm gonna wait to token my Machina BT because, well, that's something I've been waiting for, and I'm gonna wait for a time where I want to pick it up when I get my 50, right? Instead of just well, shoot, Makina's BT's not out yet. I'm at 50. Now the next tokens until he comes out is basically lost to nothing. I really do think that they should have at least put those gems instead of just trying to put them in your account, put them in your inbox instead. Because that way you could at least keep those gems for a set amount of time before you have to go down. Because it depends on where you decide to pull on afterwards. If you're not going to pull for the newest character, Minwoo, for example, then guess what? That's more resources you're just sitting on. But at least you could still buy the things that you need, like a premium log pass. You could still buy the things that you would need, like an alt or two. If you want to buy an alt for, you know, some other character that you might want. And that's just not really fair for those who hoard. I kind of sympathize with the people who are already at close to 200k or is at 300k. I know a few people who are at the mark and are kind of like, well, what do I do? I can't really tell you what you should do. I don't really even feel comfortable with saying just pull until you get below, because again, it's free first, so you're really losing a lot more than just what you're trying to get lower to. If you're just trying to lower yourself down to like maybe like 200k pay, so you still get 100k pay that you can buy, which is still gonna last you quite a bit of time. But there's no telling how much free that you have to go through to get to that 200k paid. That's not really fair for them. And it's sucky that way. That kind of sucks. So I'm a bit mixed on the whole thing. I think it doesn't hurt people who spend a lot in banners. If you're pulling everything left and right, then okay. Okay. But if you're not, then question mark, I don't know. But I do think this is something we have to play extensively by ear. I don't think that this may be the permanent process. They may have to change a few things. I again do think that should just allow you to buy the things anyway. But if you're at the cap limit, put the paid gem cap into like an inbox and at least give you some time to collect it, maybe 90 days like most things. 90 days, I don't even know if that's even good, because you're more likely to pick up a BT within the 90 days as opposed to gems. Because again, if you're not pulling as much, we don't know, man. We just don't know. Either way, this whole situation is a bit of a strange one. And especially since other SqEX properties that are on the gacha field don't have this, I don't know what's going to be the really good answer to this. I don't know. But I do sympathize with everyone who has this issue going on right now. And I just hope that SqEX can kind of make the situation a bit more accessible for those who want to hoard. We should be able to play the game whichever way we want to play the game. We should. If we don't want to pull on every single character, we should be able to have that choice. If we want to pull only for a certain series of characters, guess what? We can have that choice. If we only want to pull for, you know, the most meta breaking characters, then guess what? We have that choice, and we should not be able to be judged for those choices. We should not be able to change our choices because of what the game distributes in, you know, this particular method. It is of course their game. They are free to do what they want to do, but of course they should allow for the most inclusive way to play the game. They should allow for a lot of inclusivity to play the game, not just a particular style or a particular way to play a game. And with that, I'm going to leave this video at that. Let me know what you guys think about the 300k gem paid bundle. Gem paid lock, my bad. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think that it could be better? What are some of your potential better options that you could suggest to make it better? By the way, this video will not be monetized because I don't really feel like this is the video for monetization value. I think this is a video that we need to have a serious talk with SqEX, and of course I will be able to use what little influence I can to try to spread a message that maybe they could possibly change the situation. I don't think I have a lot of it anymore, but still, if I can use just even 10 of you to just say, let's be a little bit more strategic about it, and let's see what we can do to make this enjoyable for everyone instead of just a select selection of people, then let's just do that, okay? But anyway, this is your boy Stingren. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.